Hey y'all, it's Sarah here. I wanted to bring you some quick tips on something that I've been asked about a lot lately, and that is cutting the foam core. So I know a lot of us have the struggle with cutting foam core and ending up with this kind of result. Let's see if you can see that. So this is the result of using something like a craft knife or a box cutter blade. And while you'd think that those things work for this, this is what you end up getting. So I'm going to show you how we've been avoiding this. And I've mentioned to most of you that my secret tool is actually my husband. He does most of them. However, I'm going to show you the same steps so that you can do it if you don't have a husband that's going to cut them all or a spouse that's going to cut them all. I'm going to show you how I cut them when I need to. So really it only takes three things, honestly. You need a surface to actually cut on. Now, it may not be necessary to have one of these self-healing mats. You can always use your chopping board, something like that you can really cut your knife into. You need a good straight edge, and I'm going to show you a couple options. These, I think, are quilter rulers. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. I'm a scrapbooker, so these are in my scrapbook room. And then I'm going to show you this option. This one is 4 feet long, and it's really thick, heavy metal. And this came from one of the box chain hardware stores. I think this was Home Depot, and you can hear it's pretty heavy. I don't really have the room to use that one, and I'm not cutting full sheets today because I don't have the space in here. I usually do them on my kitchen island. So I don't have the space for a full sheet to show you guys, but I'm still going to show you how to get some really clean cuts. The magic are those. You can see that. All that is utility blades, or I call them straight razor blades. And I've got a brand new one. They wear down after a lot of cuts. So I think this box came from Harbor Freight, and there's 100 of them in here. So with everything I've done lately, we've only gone through a couple blades. And that's partially because I keep some in my craft room and we keep some in the kitchen. So I'm going to try to take this one here and clean it up so that I can use it for a sign. But I did want to show, this is kind of what I'm going to show you to avoid. And I'm just going to take my easiest straight edge here. And I'm not measuring this today. If you've heard my other videos, you know I'm not a big fan of math when I craft. So here's a few tips and tricks. Get it lined up. And one of the things that can help, and I don't have it on this ruler right now, but the little sticky putty that Dollar Tree sells to hold up posters and things like that on the wall, if you put like a little dot of that underneath here, it'll keep you from sliding when you go. So just keep that in mind. And if you notice, I am trying to line up on here where I have an overhang at my start point. So I've got an overhang of my straight edge here. And there's a reason for that. If you start right here at this point, odds are when you're done, this is going to be the last section that is still not separated from the cut, and it'll try to hang on. So if you start way up above, and I'm going to zoom in on this for a minute, and y'all have to ignore this stain and paint on my hands. I think that's kind of permanent now. So starting, and I'm turning this at a weird angle so I can see what I'm doing. So starting above where you want to, get your blade flush with your straight edge. Start pushing down and dragging well before you hit your paper. And you see, it just pops straight out. Now I want you to look at the cut on that. And let's see if I can get it to focus. So you can see a pretty good difference there between that kind of cut and that kind of cut. And I'm going to show you that one more time. I know this seems like a tedious video for some of you, but I've had a lot of questions on how to get the best, cleanest edges. And I've seen a lot of people suggest lots of things. I've tried those things over the months doing this. I've tried pretty much everything. This has yielded us the very best results. Now, one of the things about me talking about I'm always obsessed with doing 3-inch widths, this is part of the reason why, is because this little ruler right here, for me, it's 3 inches wide. So if I want to measure all those out, I can just line it up, put my pencil line, do the next one, do the next one, and my 3 inches are already lined out. That's part of the reason why I go with 3-inch increments. This ruler just made that easier. So once again, I get it lined up straight, hold it really tight in place, and I'm going to get my blade flush up here at the start. Let me slide that down. I'm going to get it flush up here with my straight edge first. And if you're straight edging long enough and you have to move it down, that's fine too. I just didn't have enough room to lay a full sheet on this surface. So I'm going to go right here. I've got my blade flush up against this. I'm going to start there. And it comes straight loose. That's why I said if you start right at your point, right here, typically you don't get as much pressure started right there. So when you're done, you've got everything like this, and then you've got something to break loose. So always start a little bit ahead to get your pressure adjusted. And you can see now that that board has much, much cleaner lines. The other thing that I wanted to go through is also asking about the angles, the 45-degree angles now. Especially doing the wall quilting or the wood quilting or whatever they call it. So all of the angles in those projects have been 45-degree angles because they line up really well. And 45 is really good for mitering frames to go around these projects and those kind of things. So I wanted to show you a couple ways that we're doing that. One, I'm going to show you this thing that my fabulous husband put together for me. Let me zoom back out. Okay, this is his brilliance. And I told him at first that I thought it was kind of unnecessary to have another tool. However, it made my big piece super easy in comparison to the other way I'm going to show you how to get a 45. So depending on which way I wanted this angle, I'm going to decide. And the way he did this is that this has a ledge right here. You can see how that works. So it's going to fit right there. And this is my stopper. I'm sure you guys recognize these from Dollar Tree. So what he has done is that this thing lines up right here. And guys, you have to forgive me. I forgot to put my phone on silent. So it lines up right there. I've got it bumped against this stopper. This is where my 45 is. And I'm going to do the same thing. I start above my cutting point, get my blade flush, and I'm going to drag this through. And there is a perfectly smooth 45-degree point. So then you can see how these work together. Here's another 45 that was perfectly done. And it's just beautiful. However, I don't expect everyone's husband is going to be brilliant and engineer them an entirely new tool. So I'm going to show you a quick, easy way. And I'm sure that you math lovers can figure out a much easier way to do this, but I'm doing this on the most basic of levels, so any crafter can do this. And this is the only way I know how to do it for these. So I've got this that I want a 45-degree angle on. Now I know that this piece is 3 inches wide. So I'm going to go over here to my 3 inches, because this is 3 inches this way. So I'm going to go 3 inches this way. And I just marked those 2 corners. Mark. And I'm going to go directly from this corner of that 3 inches down to the very tip of my triangle. And you kind of want to hit it right in this corner. I'm going to start up here again. Drag that blade down. And there you go. So that just also... Now this works if these boards were only... a half an inch or an inch and a half wide. So you would go over an inch and a half, mark your perfect square, and then go from corner to corner on that square. So I hope that helps clear up some things on how we're getting such clean cuts. I know that that's been a major question for a lot of you on getting some of these looks. And I know y'all can usually see in my images that my boards are really straight, and everybody keeps saying, well, I've tried this and I've tried that and it's still not working. Or some people said they have luck with craft knives and those kind of things. I just don't. This is my result every time I try anything with a handle. With this blade, because of the full width of it, you can really dig down into that without it dragging any of this. So it's got sharpness all the way through. And you don't get any of this dragging result. Now, if you do, let's say you get something like this. You don't want to recut that whole thing. Excuse me. Just take a sanding block. And you can go across this and you can see that's knocking a lot of that loose. If you've got a cut that's a little wonky, like it's not necessarily even, you can sand it down a little more evenly. You can watch, this will knock some of that down and give you a little better edge if you got mistakes. Now mind you, it can get messy just like regular sanding. You got to be careful. You don't want to like I'm tilting down this paper and outwards. So I'm brushing down towards it this direction. I do the same thing on this side, go downwards. And here's why. If you go this way or you go all over, you're going to catch that and start peeling some of that top layer off. And then to clean up the very top edge, just go straight across. And voila, you have a much cleaner edge. So those are just some little tips that I wanted to throw in while people were working on this project. I've been asked separately several times on some of these problems. So I thought I would address them all alone in their own video. If you have any more questions on cutting these down, just be sure to ask. I hope I hit everything that I could think of that I've been asked on getting a much cleaner look on these. And that really is the secret. A good straight edge, something that you can hold on to, and the razor blade. So, good luck, guys, and I can't wait to see some of your crafts. Thanks.